And thank you so much for joining me, brethren. Remember to read beyond the caption of this broadcast. Read the description of this broadcast. It's quite important, because therein lies the other important topic apart from the header, So that's why you have to read it, so that you can bring yourself in tune into what this video is going to be all about. All right. Then after that, like the broadcast, like it, share it, invite your friends, invite your not so friendly friends. Tell them all that Mayegun today, Mayegun is live. And of course, if you have done all of that, thank you. So you can sit back, relax, as I unpack what I have brought to you. These are, brethren, yesterday we sort of shared Peter Obi's view on what democracy has now become in Nigeria. Nigeria is a place where they have this doctrine of turn by turn Nigeria Limited. You can see those who are parading themselves today, the Ronukus, the Ronu gangs, parading themselves as lovers of Nigeria today. They were never lovers of any Nigeria. Or just as it is, when Bukwari was there and the agitation for the breakup of this contraption was being pretty much like promoted everywhere. Majority of those who are today the gang of Ronukus, the Ronu Nazis, the lovers of Nigeria, because of this druggie, Tinubu, they were on the other side. So we also believe that no matter how many of your laws broken by Tinubu, it would always have the Ronukus on its side. But in the long run, the damages is being done in phases. So we have seen the part played by Bukwari for 8 years. And we also remember the position of those from his own clan. Now we are witnessing the further desecration and destruction of the contraption by Tinubu, a Yoruba man, allegedly, because that hasn't been proven that he's a Yoruba man. Well, let's go with that or run with it, all right? Where the same set of rogues who pretended to be pro-democratic elements, pro-democracy, they said Tinubu and his gang, in fact, his own ass lickers actually said that Tinubu is the one who is nurturing democracy in the contraption. Obi was reacting to the state of things, including the recent constitutional breach by Tinubu and his gang in Rivers State, pretty much exposing the lies of democracy in that contraption. It is also a place whereby you will be told in a very clear voice that you might be in democracy, right? Yeah, you might have freedom of speech, but your freedom of speech is not guaranteed. And these are supposed to be progressives, which I call progressives. These are supposed to be democratic elements, or the people that actually, as they claim, fought for democracy in that contraption. So they are now the same people fighting democracy. So when Obi uttered those words yesterday, I was expecting a reaction, of course. A reaction from, the presidency, expectedly. And it didn't fail. Word for word, the response of Onofunuga, the 80-year-old special advisor to Tinubu on social media matters like Facebook, Twitter, or X, Instagram, or TikTok matter, that's him. So he responded on behalf of their presidency. And word for word, he said, Peter Obi's statement in this clip, where he claims that democracy has collapsed in Nigeria, his hyperbolic remarks, suited for headlines, have been made without deep reflection and lack a solid logical foundation. How can a democracy that has strengthened over the past 26 years be said to have collapsed? Only a discontented and disgruntled Peter, who benefits from the very free speech democracy provides, could perceive such a democratic downfall through his lens. If democracy had indeed collapsed, as Peter claims, we were living under a regime antithetical to democratic principles, he would not have been able to make his comments on Monday at Emeka Ihedio's colloquium. I will urge him to watch what he says and restrain himself from playing to the gallery. A statement of watch what you say, watch your mouth. Because if truly Tinubu is undemocratic, this statement of yours could actually really put you in jail. Not that it won't or still can't put you in jail. But you see, this way you talk and talk and talk, please watch your mouth. And of course, the obedient, they have latched on that. And they are not saying too much. What majority of them are saying is, we know say una the grace. And we know that somehow, as Agberus that you are, you believe that you have conquered everybody and there's nothing anybody can do. Like you have the power, but if they burn you well. How about you try and arrest Peter Obi for whatever he says? Now that's the obedient, And on my own side, I was like, that's true. Because on the plus side, for Tinubu and his presidency, the clowns, the court jesters in there, right? They can't touch Obi. Do you get that now? Like, no, we won't touch him. And if we don't touch him, plus, it's a plus for us because that means we are tolerating him, not because we are scared or worried of anybody. So then you can easily say, well, Obi can speak his mind and fear no threats or intimidation of being arrested or put in jail, right? But on the side of, Peter Obi himself and his own supporters, especially his supporters, there are those who believe that, it's like the real Peter Obi is now coming out when they listen to that interaction at Peter Ihedio's birthday yesterday. Yeah, like they've probably never really seen him that blunt, and then went on and on to actually really fire Tinubu's regime and their disrespect for your constitution, so to say. At that same colloquium, Obasanjo was there too. And similarly, I think the subjects of their meeting or what have you was about the democracy in the contraption as Nigeria is now tilting towards one-party states where there is just going to be one single party. Others are just subordinate, just like, inconsequential, sort of. So I think that's what really prompted the conversation around what is the state of democracy in Nigeria and what is it in Africa. So Obasanjo on his part was talking about the collapse of democracy in Africa. In fact, he was talking about the degenerated state of your politics in that contraption, your institutions, where some people believe that they have the power to sort of like hijack power, okay? And then they can tell their victim to go to court. Like, go to court is now like a clear mockery of the judiciary in Nigeria. Like it's become that. So to him, he said, recent developments in Africa seems to have shown that democracy is dying in Africa because of the failure of those, or of the leaders of those countries in Africa, which has led to several coup and counter coup in West Africa. They haven't responded to Obasanjo yet, but they've kind of been like abusing him anyway. Now, before we kind of delve into it, there's an observation I really want to point out. I don't know if some of you have noticed that too. When you encounter the Ronokus, yeah, they will tell you that this is how you get to know that they are not by miles, right, representing or represent anything Yoruba. They are not. And if you look at the character, the drug baron, Tinubu, who is their leader, the characters of those who are around him as well, all right, that should give you a better, kind of like a better picture of what degenerates these sewage dwellers are in their thought. And it is so bad, right, that even those who have left the contraption, right, they still dwell very much in this, in this low kind of life. Talking about the Ronukus, they have nothing to do with Yoruba, as much as they have done much damages to, to the reputation of the Yorubas, all because of this drug baron, this certificate forger. They will tell you that Yorubas are very respectful. For example, if you say something about Tinubu, right, most of them will come around and ask you if you don't have respect for your father. Is Tinubu not old enough to be your father? Number one, Tinubu is not your father. All right? Tinubu is the guy who hijacked power in Nigeria only to ruin your lives. You understand? That's who Tinubu is. He's not your father. So when they come around and say you need to respect him, pay attention to them, right? And see how much respect they actually give to those who are even older than Tinubu himself, but they do not agree with Tinubu. Have you observed that, by the way? The Ronukus. They tell you to respect elders, right? But they themselves, who are the reflection of the Tinubu and his clan, right, are pretty much selective of that respect. Because if you are not on the side of Tinubu, you do not deserve their respect. No, you do not. Like Obasanjo, by the way, it doesn't, because to them, they believe that Obasanjo is jealous of Tinubu. That Tinubu's achievement in 2 years beat Obasanjo's record of 8 years. Yeah, that's how deluded they are. Of course, Obasanjo himself is a criminal, right? No doubt, he is. But the thing here is that he kind of more or less like the only president you've had in 26 years, right? Immediately after the military, who pretty much have one or two things credibly that can be credited to him, among many other of his evil and all that. So don't get me wrong. The majority of those who have come after him, for example, yeah, well, maybe this is going to sound like I'm actually speaking on this behalf, but I have to. It's just facts, right? It was under him, right, that Nigeria increased their own electricity generation. And the only time that Nigeria actually invested, right, in improving their own electricity generation in Nigeria, Obasanjo's time. All that since after that, it's been one scandal after the other, one after the other. And guess what? By the time Obasanjo was leaving power, Nigeria was generating over 7,000 megawatt of electricity, distributing about 4,000 of that. Then fast forward to when Lantan was leaving, Nigeria was generating over, 8,000 megawatt of electricity and distributing over 5,000 of that. So today, Nigeria's power generation has dropped so drastically, right? Nigeria is struggling to generate 5,000 megawatt electricity. True story. 5,000 after 10 years of APC. So Nigeria has sort of shrunk. So the only person who has something that you can, well, anyway, he was at the colloquium as well, where he said the democracy that is dying in Nigeria is not limited to Nigeria. He even said, that maybe democracy is probably not for Africa. That's Obasanjo, who was a military head of state as well as a civilian president.
For me, I will do everything to be here with you today, and you know that. And I'm really happy to be here with you. And you have chosen for discussion, which again, I believe, is an indication of your mind, of what you believe for this country. You have chosen for discussion democracy. Is it failing in Africa? Are we talking of democracy, or are we talking of Western liberal democracy? I will not preempt what Bishop Kuka will be saying. But when we talk of democracy, we should remember that in Africa, before the colonial rule and the colonial power, we have a form of government which attended to the needs of our people. And whatever you call it, to me, it is democracy. Because what is democracy about? The American President Abraham Lincoln defined it as government of the people, by the people, for the people. Democracy is meant to be a system of government that delivers, and delivers to all the people, not just a section of the people, not just a few. But what do we have today? I believe since we gone past the Greek democracy, which brought everybody to the square, and everybody has a say in the decision making, which affects everybody, or which affected everybody. Democracy has now become representative democracy. And representative democracy has not taken care of everybody. Today we have democracy, which is government of the people, of small number of people, by a small number of people, over large number of people, who are deprived of what they need to have in life. Now that is not democracy that will endure. So if you are talking of democracy failing in Africa, democracy in Africa has failed. And why has it failed? Because it didn't have any, in context and in content, it's not African. It does not have any aspect of our culture, our way of life, what we stand for, what we believe. Ubuntu. I am because we are. It is I am because I can grab. What sort of democracy brings you and you grab everything and then illegally corruptly, and you say go to court. When you know that even in the court, you cannot get justice.